The newsday continues here in One News Now Business. I'm Diego Castro. Here are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate fronts. The country's balance of payments remained in a deficit in June. Data from the Bangko Sentral shows that the country's BOP deficit stood at $606 million last month. That's a far cry from the $1.6 billion gap in the same month of last year. But the latest figure is still under than the $439 million deficit in May. A deficit in the country's balance of payments means more funds exited the economy than went in. The Bangko Sentral says the June figure reflected outflows as the national government settled for foreign currency debt obligations. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority expects the moratorium on new ecozones in Metro Manila to be lifted within this year. The ban has been in place since 2019 in a bid to boost countryside development. PEZA believes the moratorium should be lifted to align policy with provisions of the CREATE law. They maintain that the law does not distinguish between economic zones established in NCR or elsewhere. PEZA Director General Tereso Panga noted that developers eyeing to establish ecozones in the metro typically prioritize information technology projects. He added that Malacanang seems keen on the move. The low-pressure area east of southern Luzon has developed into a tropical depression. PAGASA says the LPA intensified into a tropical depression at 8 a.m. today. It will now be named Egay. In its latest forecast, PAGASA says Egay's trough, along with localized thunderstorms, will bring rains over Metro Manila and other areas. Habagat will also continue to trigger rains over Mimaropa and Western Visayas. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. Reforms in the civil service, agriculture, education, and infrastructure are just some of the priority areas the private sector would like to see the Marcos administration prioritize as it enters its second year in office. In a conversation on Thought Leaders with Cathy Yang, investment banker Stephen Cunyeng says in as far as the first year goes, the administration's work is, in his words, incomplete. Let's watch this.
There's one of the things that I feel sad about in the Philippines is people say, how can there always be coups in Thailand and the tourists come back after 1 week? The foreign investors don't leave. Here, those countries have a very good professional civil service. There's a decent execution by the civil service and the bureaucracy, which is better than us. That's my observation.
How would you rate from a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd rate it an incomplete because I'm waiting to see. I mean, to the credit of this administration, I think their stated policy priorities are all correct. But the president is now entering his 11th month. And I'm waiting to see what are the policies and the execution of those policies for those sectors. I haven't seen them yet. So my grade is an incomplete because I don't know what they're going to do yet. He says we have to be self-sufficient in agricultural prime commodities. But for now, we're still importing. I haven't seen how they're going to improve and professionalize the civil service, except that they're arguing about DBP and Land Bank and what should happen in the merger. But I haven't seen fundamental moves on addressing that, and then obviously the military pension. But I've not seen how they're going to make it better. I agree with those. I'm happy the government has chosen to prioritize that plus other things, but I'm waiting to see how.
Catch the full interview on Thought Leaders with Cathy Yang this Tuesday, July 25, 7:30 p.m. Manila time, only here on One News. The Philippine women's football team will hit the pitch later today for their much-awaited debut at the FIFA Women's World Cup. The Pinays will open their campaign against 20th-ranked Switzerland at the Forsyth Bar Stadium in Dunedin, New Zealand. This will be the first time that the women's team will play in the World Cup in its 42 years of existence. The country was drawn in Group A, where they will play the Swiss, co-host New Zealand, and Norway. The group stages will be a single-round robin format, where the top two teams progress to the next round. You may catch the Filipinas debut on One Sports and Filipinas Live at 1 p.m. today. And those are the top business stories of the hour. I'm Diego Castro. Join us again at 2 p.m. We are One News. All sides, all the time.